Mira sat near the window of the transport ship, watching the stars pass by in endless streaks of light. This was her first time traveling beyond the safe heart of human space. She was both excited and nervous. The colony they were heading to was far from the central worlds, a small settlement on a planet called Leora. People there lived close to danger, but they also spoke of new opportunities, wide fields and open skies. Mira wanted to see it for herself. The ship was filled with workers, farmers, and a few engineers. They were not soldiers or trained explorers. Most had left the crowded cities of Earth and Mars behind, hoping for a new life in the colonies. Mira had joined them because she wanted to help build something fresh, something that mattered. Among the passengers, one man stood out to her, though not for the reasons one might expect. His name was Aaron. He was quiet, almost invisible at times. He did not laugh loudly with the others, nor did he share many stories. He spent most of his time sitting in the corner of the common hall, reading from an old tablet. He carried himself with a calmness that Mira found strange. At first, she thought nothing of him. Every group had people like that, quiet, private, maybe even shy. But as the days passed, she noticed small details. Aaron always seemed to know when someone was about to spill a drink, stepping aside before the cup even tipped. When the ship hit turbulence, he steadied himself before anyone else even began to sway. And when a child ran through the hall nearly falling, Aaron caught him without even turning his head, as if he had known it would happen. Mira began to wonder who he really was. One evening, while most of the crew rested, Mira walked into the dining area and found Aaron sitting alone. The room was quiet with only the soft hum of the engines in the background. She gathered her courage and sat across from him. "You do not talk much," Mira said. Aaron looked up from his tablet. His eyes were sharp yet calm. "There is little to say," he answered. Mira tilted her head. "You must have a reason for coming this far. Most people talk about their dreams or their plans. You say nothing. Why?" Aaron placed the tablet down. "Sometimes dreams are better kept to oneself. But you are right, I do have a reason for coming here." He paused, as if choosing his words carefully. "I want to see if humanity can still grow in places like this, far from the protection of the core worlds. Here people are tested. Here they must rely on themselves." Mira nodded slowly. His answer felt heavy, deeper than she expected. She tried to smile. "That is what I want too, to help build something new." For the first time, she saw a faint smile cross his face. The next day, the ship began its descent to Leora. From the windows, Mira saw a world of rolling plains, wide rivers, and distant mountains. The settlement was small, with only a cluster of buildings surrounded by fields of crops. Beyond the farms stretched wild land, untamed and full of unknown life. The colonists stepped out onto the soil, breathing in fresh air that smelled of grass and rain. The people cheered, but Mira noticed Aaron stood still, scanning the horizon as if he were listening for something. His calm eyes studied every detail: the hills, the forest line, the distant sky. The settlement leader greeted the new arrivals and gave them places to stay. Mira was given a small cabin near the fields. Aaron was placed in a unit with other workers. Life in the colony began quickly, with tasks divided among everyone. Some repaired tools, others planted crops, and a few worked to expand the living quarters. Mira often crossed paths with Aaron. He worked hard, lifting heavy supplies without complaint, but he never boasted about his strength. He listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, his words carried weight. The other colonists respected him, though they did not know why. One night, as Mira walked past the storage area, she saw Aaron standing alone under the stars. He was staring up at the sky, silent and thoughtful. "What are you looking for?" Mira asked. Aaron turned his gaze toward her. His face was calm, but his voice held something more. "Signs," he said. "Signs of what?" "Of what may come. This colony stands at the edge of human space. Edges are never quiet for long." Mira shivered at his words, though she did not fully understand them. She thought he was only being cautious. To her, he was still just another worker, perhaps a little more serious than the rest. She had no idea that the man before her carried a secret that would change everything. For now, he was simply Aaron, quiet, calm, ordinary, or at least that was what she believed. Life on Leora settled into a steady rhythm. The colony was still small, but each day new fields were planted and new shelters were built. Mira spent her time working with other settlers to expand the crop lines. The soil was rich, and though the labor was hard, it felt meaningful. She enjoyed the wide-open sky above and the sense that here, on this distant world, humans could shape their own future. Yet not everything was calm. Strange signs began to appear at the edges of the settlement. A fence post was found broken one morning, though no storm had passed through the night. Supplies left in storage sometimes went missing, with no footprints leading away. Some colonists whispered that the wild lands beyond the farms were not as empty as they had believed. Mira noticed how Aaron reacted to these events. He never panicked or joined in the gossip. Instead, he studied the evidence closely, walking the edge of the fields and watching the forest line. His sharp eyes seemed to notice things others overlooked. When someone suggested the missing tools were simply misplaced, Aaron shook his head. "Something is testing us," he said calmly. "Something is watching." Mira felt uneasy at his words. She wanted to believe the land was safe, that their work would continue without danger, but deep inside she could not dismiss the way Aaron spoke. His voice carried certainty, not fear. One evening, the settlement leader gathered the colonists. He had received a report from a nearby outpost. Alien raiders had been sighted in the region. They were known to strike small colonies, taking resources and leaving destruction behind. They moved fast, hitting where humans were weakest. The room fell into silence as the leader explained. The settlers had no trained soldiers, only farming tools, construction gear, and a handful of old defense drones that barely worked. Fear spread quickly among the people. Mira looked around at the faces of her fellow colonists. They had come here for peace, not war. Many of them were families, with children who had never even seen conflict. She felt a cold weight in her chest. If the raiders came here, how could they possibly defend themselves? It was then that Aaron spoke up. His calm voice cut through the rising panic. "Fear will not help us. We have strong hands and sharp minds. We may not be soldiers, but we are not helpless. If we prepare, we can stand." The settlers turned to him, surprised. Aaron rarely spoke in meetings, yet now he sounded steady, even commanding. Some listened, while others shook their heads. One man said bitterly, "What can we do against raiders with weapons? We are farmers, not fighters." Aaron did not argue. He simply said, "Every human who came here chose to face the unknown. That courage has value. With the right plan, courage can be enough." The leader agreed to form simple defenses. Watch posts were set at the edges of the fields, and people were trained to use the few drones they had. Still, fear lingered. Mira noticed that each night more light stayed on in the homes, as if the people hoped brightness could keep the dark away. Days passed with no attack, but tension grew. Mira continued her work but felt her eyes drawn off into the forest. She wondered if shapes moved between the trees, or if it was only her imagination. One afternoon, while Mira carried baskets from the field, she saw Aaron helping repair a broken drone. He worked with steady hands, adjusting wires and circuits as if he had done it many times before. She walked closer, curious. "You handle that machine like an expert," she said. Aaron glanced at her, then returned to his work. "I learned long ago that machines can save lives if treated with care. Tools are only as strong as the people who guide them." Mira folded her arms. "You speak like someone trained for more than farming." Aaron's eyes lifted to hers, calm but unreadable. "Perhaps, but what matters now is not my past. What matters is that this colony survives." Mira wanted to press him, but something in his steady gaze held her back. She nodded instead, though her curiosity only grew. That night, as the colony grew quiet, Mira could not sleep. She stepped outside, the cool air brushing her face. The stars stretched endless above, bright and clear. Near the storage area, she saw Aaron again, standing guard with silent focus. "You do not rest much," she said softly. Aaron answered without turning. "Rest can wait. We must stay ready. Do you truly believe the raiders will come here?" "Yes," he said. "The question is not if, but when." Mira shivered at the certainty in his voice. She wanted to believe safety would last, but deep inside she knew he was right. And so the days of waiting continued. The colony worked, built, and planted, yet every sound from the forest made hearts jump. Every shadow carried threat. And while the settlers lived with fear, Aaron carried himself with the same strange calm, as though he had been waiting for this moment all along. Mira did not know why, but she began to watch him more closely. The man she had thought ordinary seemed anything but. He moved with purpose, spoke with quiet strength, and faced danger without flinching. Something about him did not fit the life of a simple worker. What she did not yet realize was that soon the truth would be revealed, and when it was, nothing would ever be the same. The morning began like any other. The settlers worked in the fields, carrying tools and planting seeds, while children played near the cabins. The sun rose high over Leora, warm and bright. It seemed almost peaceful, almost safe, but Mira had a heavy feeling in her chest. She remembered Aaron's words. The question is not if, but when. The answer came before midday. The alarm bells rang out from the watchposts. A shout echoed across the colony. "Raiders! Raiders are coming." Panic spread at once. Families rushed to gather children and workers dropped their tools. From the edge of the forest, shadows moved quickly. Sleek ships descended, dust rising beneath their engines. Figures in dark armor stepped forward, armed with strange weapons that gleamed in the light. Mira froze for a moment, her heart pounding. She had never seen alien raiders before, but the stories had always been frightening. They were known for striking fast, breaking colonies apart, and leaving nothing behind. Aaron was already moving. His voice carried across the chaos. "Everyone inside? Hold the lines near the storage units. Keep the children safe." The settlers obeyed without thinking. There was something in his tone, steady and commanding, that cut through their fear. Mira found herself running toward the storage area with others, clutching a tool in her hands, though she hardly knew how to use it for defense. The first shots came quickly. Bright streaks of energy tore through the air, striking the ground near the cabins. A defense drone rose into the sky but was destroyed in seconds. The settlers cried out, some ducking, others trying to hold their ground. Mira saw Aaron at the front line. He carried no heavy weapon, only a simple staff taken from the supply yard. Yet the way he moved was different from anyone else. He was calm while others panicked. He shifted from side to side, his eyes never leaving the enemy. The raiders advanced with sharp precision. One of them raised a weapon toward a group of settlers. Mira shouted, but before the shot could strike, Aaron was there. He moved faster than seemed possible, pulling two people out of the way just in time. The blast hit the dirt where they had stood. The colonists gasped. Mira's eyes widened. How had he moved so fast? The settlers tried to fight back with whatever they had, tools, stones, and the few drones that still worked. But it was not enough. The raiders pushed forward and fear threatened to break the line. Then Aaron stepped forward. He swung his staff with a force that knocked a raider to the ground. Another aimed at him, but he spun aside, the shot missing by inches. His movements were precise, controlled, almost trained. To Mira, it looked as though he had fought battles before, though he had claimed to be only a worker. "Stay together," Aaron called out. "Do not scatter. Use the barricades." His words gave the settlers focus. They ducked behind storage crates and wagons, throwing whatever they could. A few even managed to use captured weapons dropped by the raiders. The defense was messy, but it held longer than Mira expected, all because Iran was guiding them. Still, the enemy was strong. More raiders poured out from the ships, their armor glowing with strange lights. The settlers were tiring, their strength failing. Mira felt her heart sink. It seemed impossible to hold them back, and then it happened. A raider aimed directly at Mira. She froze, unable to move. The blast streaked toward her, bright and deadly. But before it reached her, Aaron was there. He moved in front of her with unbelievable speed, his staff striking the weapon aside. The energy bolt burned into the ground, missing her by a breath. For a moment, Mira stared at him in shock. His eyes were glowing faintly now, and the way he held himself had changed. His body seemed stronger, his movements sharper. He no longer looked like a simple worker. He looked like something more. Aaron turned his head slightly, his voice low but steady. "Stay behind me." Mira obeyed, still stunned. She could not understand what she had just seen. Aaron fought like no man she had ever known. Each strike of his staff sent armored raiders sprawling. Each movement was faster than her eyes could follow. The settlers saw it too. Hope flickered in their faces as they watched him. With Aaron at the front, they began to fight with more courage. They shouted together, pushing back against the raiders, no longer only afraid. The battle raged on, the colony shaking with blasts and cries. Mira's hands trembled as she tried to help others, pulling the wounded to safety and carrying tools to those still standing. But all the while, her eyes stayed fixed on Aaron. Who was this man? He was not ordinary. He was not just a quiet worker. The truth was beginning to break through, and Mira knew it. She had thought he was only human, but in that moment, under the burning sun of Leora, She realized he was something else. The clash was not yet over. The raiders regrouped, preparing for another strike. The settlers braced themselves, and Mira's heart pounded. She had no idea how long they could last, but one thing was clear. Aaron was no ordinary man. He was a warrior, and this was only the beginning of what he was about to reveal. The battle shook the colony with fire and sound. Energy blasts tore into the ground, drones sparked in the air, and frightened voices filled the settlement. The settlers fought as best they could, but the raiders pressed forward with skill and power. Every moment felt like it could be the last. Mira crouched behind a crate, holding her breath as flashes of light crossed the field. She could hear children crying from inside the cabins, their voices sharp against the chaos. Her hands trembled as she tried to steady herself. She had never been in a fight like this, and fear wrapped itself tightly around her heart. But then she looked toward Aaron. He stood tall at the front, calm in the storm. His staff moved in arcs of strength and speed, knocking raiders down one after another. His movements were too fast, too sharp, too perfect. He was not fighting like a farmer with a stick. He was fighting like someone trained for battle. Yet even his strength was being tested. More raiders poured from the ships, their weapons glowing brighter. One of them, larger than the rest, raised a heavy blaster and aimed straight at the settlers' line. Mira's breath caught in her throat. Aaron saw it too. He dropped his staff and stepped forward. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time, Mira saw something change in him. His stance shifted, his chest rising as if some hidden force stirred inside. His eyes glowed brighter, faint streaks of light tracing across his skin. The settlers gasped as they saw his form harden, his strength rising like a tide. His movements became sharper, more powerful, as if he had shed the mask of being ordinary. Mira's eyes widened in shock. The quiet man she had thought to be only human was transforming before her. The raider fired. The blast streaked toward the settlers, but Aaron raised his hand. A barrier of energy shimmered in front of him, and the bolt struck harmlessly against it. Gasps and cries filled the air. None of the settlers had ever seen such a thing. Aaron picked up his staff again, though now it seemed to pulse with the same strange light that flowed through him. He moved forward, his strikes faster than the eye could follow. Raiders fell one by one as his power surged. His calm voice carried across the battlefield, "Stand strong. Do not give in. You are not alone." The settlers rallied at his words. Seeing Aaron fight with such force lit a fire in their hearts. They shouted, gathering courage, pushing back against the raiders with renewed strength. Even children peeked from windows, watching the man who was no longer just a worker, but something far greater. Mira watched, awe mixing with disbelief. She had wondered about him since the journey began, had noticed his calm and strange awareness. But she had never imagined this. He was a warrior, a protector hidden in plain sight. As the settlers held the line, Mira found herself beside him. She picked up a dropped weapon, her hands shaking but her resolve steady. "What are you?" she asked, her voice loud enough to reach him over the noise of the battle. Aaron's glowing eyes flicked toward her. "I am human," he said, striking down another raider. "But I was made to be more. Long ago there was a project. Humans like me were created to protect our people, hidden among them until the time came. I swore I would not reveal myself unless it was needed. Today it is needed." Mira felt her breath catch. He spoke the words with such certainty that she knew he told the truth. He was not some stranger playing hero. He had been built for this, designed to stand when others could not. Another wave of raiders charged, but Aaron moved with renewed strength. He shielded settlers with his body, deflected shots with his glowing staff, and struck with power that sent enemies flying. The battle that had seemed hopeless only moments before was shifting. The settlers were no longer just victims. With Aaron leading them, they became a force that refused to break. The large raider who had fired the heavy blaster stepped forward again, anger flashing in its eyes. It swung a blade of energy toward Aaron. The two clashed in a storm of sparks and staff against blade. The sound rang out across the settlement, each strike shaking the ground. Mira watched in awe as Aaron held his ground. He was not just stronger than the settlers. He was stronger than the raiders themselves. His power, his speed, his unshakable calm, it all came together in that moment. Finally, with a sharp strike, Aaron knocked the enemy down. The raiders hesitated, their attack faltering. Seeing their leader fall, they began to retreat toward their ships. The settlers raised a cheer, chasing them back with tools and captured weapons. The battle was not won easily, but it was won. The raiders pulled back, their ships lifting into the sky and vanishing beyond the horizon. Silence fell over the colony, broken only by the heavy breaths of tired settlers. Mira stood, her heart still racing. She looked at Aaron, who now stood quietly among them, his glow slowly fading. He picked up the staff again, but now he seemed different in her eyes. Not just quiet, not just strong, but something beyond human. The settlers gathered around, their faces full of questions and awe. Aaron looked at them, his voice steady. You fought bravely. You stood together. This victory is yours, not only mine. Remember that. But as Mira watched him, she knew the truth. The colony would never have survived without him. Aaron was not only one of them. He was a warrior, a protector hidden in the shape of a man. And she knew this was only the beginning. The ground was still scarred from the battle. Burned soil marked where blasts had struck, and broken crates lay scattered near the fields. The settlers worked quietly to repair the damage, though their hands still shook from the memory of the attack. They had survived, but fear lingered in every corner of the colony. Mira walked among them, carrying supplies from one group to another. She saw faces pale with exhaustion, children clinging to parents, and homes patched hastily with wood and metal. Everyone tried to act strong, yet she knew the fear was not gone. The settlers worried that the raiders would return stronger than before. At the edge of the settlement stood Aaron. He had not rested since the fight. While others worked to rebuild, he patrolled the perimeter, his eyes scanning the forest and the sky. His calm presence steadied the settlers, though none dared to speak openly of what they had seen. The strange glow in his eyes, the barrier of energy, the strength beyond human. They whispered among themselves but kept their distance. Mira, however, did not stay silent. She approached him as he stood watch. You saved us, she said softly. Aaron shook his head. We saved ourselves. I only gave you the chance to stand. But without you, the colony would have fallen, Mira pressed. People need to know what you are. They need to understand. Aaron's gaze remained fixed on the horizon. Understanding will come in time. For now, they must believe in themselves. If they think I alone can protect them, they will lose the courage they found today. Mira studied him, unsure how to respond. His words carried truth, yet she could not shake the image of him standing against the raiders, glowing with power no ordinary human could wield. That evening, the settlers gathered in the central hall. The leader addressed them, his voice weary but proud. We stood against the raiders, he said. We lost much, but we did not break. Still, we must prepare. They will return. We cannot face them unready. The settlers murmured in agreement. Fear remained, but so did a spark of courage. Many of them looked toward Aaron, though he stood quietly in the back, saying nothing. Finally, one farmer spoke aloud. We saw him fight. He was not like us. He was something else. If he stands with us, maybe we can survive. The hall grew silent. All eyes turned to Aaron. For a long moment, he did not move. Then he stepped forward, his calm voice carrying through the room. I am human, he said, but I was changed long ago, built to protect. I was hidden among you because I was told humanity should not depend on warriors like me. But today I chose to act because this colony is worth protecting. The settlers listened closely, some with awe, others with doubt. Aaron continued. I cannot fight alone. If this place is to survive, you must stand with me. Each of you has strength. You proved it when you did not flee, when you held the line, when you defended your families. I will teach you what I know. Together we will be ready. A murmur spread through the hall, growing louder. People nodded, courage sparking in their eyes. For the first time since the attack, hope filled the room. From that day, the colony began to change. Aaron trained them in small groups, showing them how to move together, how to use cover, and how to turn tools into weapons. He repaired the drones with skill, teaching others to maintain them. He helped farmers learn to build barricades that could stop more than animals. Every lesson gave the settlers new confidence. Mira trained beside them. Her hands blistered from drills, but her spirit strong. She watched how Aaron moved, precise and calm, every action purposeful. He did not shout like a commander. He guided patiently, correcting mistakes without anger, praising courage when he saw it. Slowly, the settlers became more than farmers and builders. They became defenders. The children, too, felt the change. They played at guarding the cabins, imitating Aaron's stance. pretending to hold staffs and shields. Laughter returned to the colony, mixed with determination. Weeks passed, and though the raiders had not yet returned, no one believed they were safe. Scouts reported movement in the skies, signs of enemy ships nearby, but now the settlers no longer trembled at the news. They stood taller, their eyes steady, their hands ready. One night, as Mira and Aaron walked the perimeter together, she spoke quietly. "You gave them more than defense. You gave them hope." Aaron looked at her, his expression calm but softer than before. "Hope is the strongest weapon humans have. With it, even the weakest hand can hold the line." Mira smiled faintly. She had thought of him as distant, more machine than man, but the more she watched him, the more she saw the heart behind his calmness. He fought not because he was built to fight, but because he believed in humanity. The colony was no longer the same frightened place it had been. With Aaron leading them, the settlers had found their courage. They were ready to face the future. But Mira knew one truth lingered. The raiders would come again, stronger than before. The real test was yet to come, and when it did, the world would see just how far humanity could rise with a warrior in their midst. The colony had grown stronger since the first attack. Barricades were built around the fields, drones patrolled the skies, and settlers trained daily under Iran's guidance. What had once been fear was now determination, but Mira could see the strain on everyone's faces. Constant vigilance was exhausting, and though they were learning to defend themselves, the threat of the raiders remained ever present. Mira walked beside Aaron during one evening patrol. The sun was setting, painting the sky with orange and pink streaks. The air was calm, but Mira could sense tension in Aaron, a quiet energy that never fully rested. "You carry a heavy burden," Mira said softly, breaking the silence. Aaron did not immediately respond. He scanned the horizon, his eyes sharp and watchful. "I do not carry it alone. The burden belongs to everyone who stands here. I only guide it." Mira shook her head. "No, you were different in the last battle. You fought like more than a man. You could have saved everyone without any help. Why hide it before?" Aaron stopped and looked at her, his calm face unreadable. "Because humanity must learn to stand on its own. My power is a tool, not a solution. If they relied on me, they would never grow, never find their courage. But today you revealed it," Mira said. "You changed. Why now?" He paused, the wind shifting slightly, stirring dust around their boots. "Because I had to. The raiders would have destroyed the colony if I waited any longer. It is not enough to hope. Sometimes action is needed. I chose to act because they had no other choice." Mira studied him carefully. She had long suspected he was extraordinary, but now she knew the truth. He was human, yet more than human, and yet he had not done it for glory. He had acted because it was necessary. "I still do not understand," she admitted. "You could have stayed hidden, protected yourself. You chose to fight to show them you are more. Why risk yourself?" Aaron's eyes softened slightly, and for the first time Mira saw a trace of emotion beyond calm determination. "Because humanity is worth the risk. You will see it one day. People can rise above fear. They can protect what they love. I was made to protect, but I fight for their potential, not my own. If I do not act, no one will know what they are capable of." Mira nodded slowly. She had always believed in human courage, but watching Aaron had changed her understanding. Courage could grow when guided, when tested, when someone inspired it. He had not only saved the colony, he had shown them their own strength. Aaron turned his gaze back toward the horizon. "The raiders will return. They always do. The choice now is not only theirs but mine as well. I can continue to stand behind them, guiding, protecting, teaching. Or I can step forward using my full strength to destroy the enemy once and for all. But that choice is mine alone. And if I choose wrong, humanity may lose the chance to stand on its own." Mira felt the weight of his words. She realized that being a warrior was not only about fighting. It was about decisions, responsibility, and sacrifice. Aaron had lived hidden among humans for years, waiting for the right moment. Now that the moment had come, he had to decide how far to go. "I know you can win," she said quietly. "But I also know that the colony will need you, whatever happens. They need their chance to fight, to grow. You do not have to do it alone." Aaron smiled faintly, almost like a shadow of warmth. "That is why I am here. To give them a chance. To let them see their own strength. I am not their leader by right. I am their guide by choice. and I will not take that away from them. For a long time they walked in silence, the wind rustling through the fields. Mira felt a new respect for him. He had chosen his path carefully, not for power, not for glory, but for humanity. Every step he took, every decision he made was for others. Finally, Aaron spoke again. Tomorrow we train harder. We prepare for what will come. The raiders will not give us a second warning. When they return, we must be ready. And I will stand with every one of you, but they must fight too. That is the choice I give them, and the choice I give myself. Mira looked at him, understanding at last. The man she had thought quiet and ordinary was extraordinary, but not because of his strength alone. His true power was in his wisdom, his patience, and his belief in humans. He had been hiding for years, waiting for the right moment, and now that the moment had come, he had made his choice. "You are a true warrior," she said softly. "Not just in strength, but in heart." Aaron glanced at her, his calm expression returning, though it carried a hint of pride. "The heart of humanity is stronger than any weapon. That is what I fight for." Mira understood then that he was not only protecting them from the raiders, he was preparing them to stand on their own. The colony had a warrior, yes, but more importantly, it had a teacher, a guide, and a symbol of what humans could become when courage and choice combined. The night settled over the colony, quiet and still. Stars shimmered above, and for the first time since the first attack, Mira felt hope without fear. The real test was coming, but with Aaron leading them and the settlers ready to fight, she knew humanity's spirit would not break, and Aaron's choice had made all the difference. The morning sun rose over Leora, casting long shadows across the fields. The colony was quiet, but the air was filled with anticipation. Every settler had trained for weeks under Aaron's guidance. Tools had become weapons, homes had become strongholds, and ordinary men and women had learned to fight as a team. They were ready. Mira walked among the settlers, carrying supplies and checking on families. She saw confidence in their eyes, a fire that had not existed before the first attack. Children practiced in the fields, pretending to guard the cabins, their laughter full of courage. The colony had changed. They had become more than survivors. They had become defenders. Aaron stood at the edge of the settlement, his eyes scanning the horizon. He had been quiet that morning, observing the sky and the distant hills where the raiders might appear. His calm presence inspired confidence. Mira watched him, remembering the first time she had seen him transform into a warrior. The memory made her heart swell with admiration and gratitude. Suddenly, a shadow passed over the field. Scouts shouted warnings. The raiders had returned, and this time they were stronger. More ships descended from the sky, engines blazing. Their weapons glowed with greater intensity, and their armored figures moved with practiced precision. The settlers braced themselves, but unlike before, fear did not grip them. They took positions behind barricades, ready with tools, drones, and weapons. They had learned from Aaron. They had grown stronger. Aaron stepped forward. His eyes glowed faintly, his body tense with energy. He raised his staff, the light pulsing along its length. He spoke calmly, yet firmly. "Stand together. Fight for each other. Protect this home. Remember your courage. You are stronger than fear." The raiders advanced, firing energy blasts at the barricades. The settlers held their ground. Mira ducked behind a crate, guiding children to safety, and fired a captured weapon when a raider got too close. Around her, others moved with purpose, defending their homes with determination. Aaron led the front line. His movements were precise, powerful, and fast. He blocked attacks with his staff, knocked raiders off balance, and moved to protect anyone in danger. But this time he did not fight alone. The settlers were beside him, moving as one. Tools became shields. Drones formed a network of defense, and every settler followed his guidance with courage. Mira ran beside him, helping a small group of settlers repel a raider trying to reach the cabins. She felt fear, yes, but also strength. She realized now that the courage Aaron had inspired was not about him alone. It was inside each of them. The largest raider, a towering figure with a glowing weapon, charged toward Aran. The settlers hesitated for a moment, but Aran's calm voice rang out. "Do not stop. Protect each other." With a swift movement, Aaron struck the raider's weapon aside. The battle became a blur of light and motion. Raiders fell one by one, but the settlers pressed forward too, no longer merely defending but fighting back with confidence. Every strike, every move was a reminder that humans could rise, even when faced with overwhelming odds. Mira saw settlers she had once feared would flee stand firm, their faces determined. Farmers wielded tools as weapons. Engineers repaired drones mid-battle. Children cheered from behind barricades, inspired by the courage of their elders. Aaron's eyes met Mira's for a brief moment. He nodded slightly. She understood. This was not only a battle of strength, but a battle of spirit. Humanity itself was standing tall, refusing to bow to fear. The raiders began to retreat. Their ships rose into the sky, engines roaring as they fled back toward the wildlands. The settlers raised cheers, though their voices were tired. They had done it. They had defended their home, and they had done so together. Aaron lowered his staff. His glow faded, and he stood among the settlers, calm and quiet again. Mira approached him, her eyes full of awe. "You were amazing," she said softly. "But they fought too." "They stood with you." Aaron smiled faintly. "That is what I hoped. They are not just survivors. They are defenders. Today they proved it." Mira looked around at the colony. The settlers were helping each other, checking on the wounded and cleaning the battlefield. She felt a sense of pride she had never known. The colony had changed. They were no longer just humans living at the edge of space. They were a united force, inspired by courage, guided by a warrior, and strengthened by their own spirit. Aaron's hand rested lightly on her shoulder. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The galaxy will always have challenges, but humanity will face them. When courage and unity come together, nothing can destroy them." Mira nodded, understanding at last. Aaron was not only a protector, he was a symbol of what humanity could be. Not perfect, not invincible, but brave, united and strong beyond expectation. The colony looked out across Leora, the sun high in the sky, shining on fields, cabins, and brave hearts. Humanity had risen in the face of danger, and at the heart of it all, a warrior had stood, guiding them, inspiring them, showing them that even ordinary people could achieve extraordinary things. Mira smiled as she watched Aaron. The quiet man, the hidden warrior, had revealed what humans were capable of, and she knew with him by their side humanity would continue to rise stronger than ever. The battle was over. The colony was safe, and humanity had found its warrior.